Greetings, fellow Whovians. Well, hope you're having a good day so far. I know I am, because today just happens to be my birthday. Overall, yeah. So, anyway, let's continue on with the Fifth Doctor era with The Awakening. On July 13, 1643, two forces came to the village of Little Holdcombe during the English Civil War and destroyed each other. As the story begins, a group of Roundheads are riding horses in the village of Little Holdcombe, with little regard to the villagers around them. Only it's not 1643, it is 1984. The schoolteacher, Jane Hampton, is convinced that her fellow villagers, led by the town's leader, Sir George Hutchinson, have taken their reenactment of a series of war games too far. Hutchinson attempts to assure her that the games are a harmless event, which are merely to celebrate the English Civil War. When Hampton asks him to stop the games, Hutchinson ignores her. Rude. Inside the TARDIS, the Doctor promises to take his companion Tegan to 1984 so she can spend some time with her grandfather, Andrew Verney. The Doctor sets the coordinates to Little Holdcombe, where Verney resides. However, the TARDIS experiences some turbulence and arrives in what appears to be a structurally unstable church. The Doctor, Tegan, and Turlough, watching on the scanner, see a man in 17th century clothing flee from the church, and the Doctor dashes out to help him. However, the man has now vanished. Tegan is convinced they have landed in the wrong time zone. However, Turlough tells her that he had checked the TARDIS coordinates and they were 1984. As the Time Lord and his companions continue to pursue the man, smoke starts to billow from a crack in the wall. Crack in the wall? That's not a good sign there. Oh wait, I forgot. It's the 11th Doctor had to deal with those, not the 5th. Never mind. Eventually, the three travelers are captured by Captain Joseph Willow and taken to Sir George Hutchinson. Excuse me. The Doctor and his companions are first brought before Hampton and Colonel Ben Wolseley, who apologizes for the poor treatment that they received. Hutchinson arrives and explains to the Doctor that the town is celebrating the anniversary of the Battle of Little Holdcombe, and then he urges them to join the celebration. Tegan explains that they have come to the village to see her grandfather, Andrew Verney. She is informed that her grandfather is missing, and runs out of the room, upset. The Doctor follows but loses her. Tegan is still crying when someone steals her purse. She tries to get it back and runs into a barn where she sees the ghost of an old man. The Doctor returns to the church and meets a 17th century peasant, Will Chandler, who emerges from a wall. He has been hidden in a priest hole and believes the year to be 1643. Turlough eventually rescues Tegan from the barn and they return to the TARDIS, where they see a sparkly projection made of illuminated white squares on one of the walls. Meanwhile, the Doctor and Will investigate the church. Tegan and Turlough leave the TARDIS and they are recaptured. Seriously? Turlough is locked in a building with Verney. Willow forces Tegan to change into a 17th century costume. He informs her that she is to become the Queen of the May, whatever that means. The Doctor and Will continue to investigate. Eventually they find a secret passage back to Ben Wolseley's living room under a slab marked with a picture of a creature that Will identifies as the Malice. Coming the other way through the passage, the Doctor and Will meet up with Hampton, who found the passenger's other end by accident after being locked at Colonel Wolseley's office. They avoid Hutchinson, who has followed Jane down the passage, and the Doctor finds a small ball of metal. The Doctor identifies the metal as Tinclavic, a metal mined by the Pterodactyls on the planet Raga for the almost exclusive use of the people of Halkol, a planet in the star system Rifta, where psychic energy is a force to be harnessed. Returning to the church, the Doctor and Hampton are astonished when the massive alien face pushes its way through the crack on the wall, roaring and spewing smoke. They manage to escape from the psychic projection of a cavalier and head back to the house via the tunnel. The Doctor realizes that the Malice in the church was discovered by Verney and Hutchinson. The latter tried to exploit the creature, but instead, the creature began to use him by organizing the war games. He deduces that the psychic energy released by the war games has fed the Malice. The Doctor and Jane again try to persuade Hutchinson to stop the games, as the final battle will be for real. He refuses and orders Wolseley to kill the Doctor. However, once Hutchinson leaves, Wolseley joins forces with the Doctor. Yeah, that's a good idea. The Queen of the Maze taken in a horse-drawn car towards the village green, where she is to be burned. When the cart arrives, Hutchinson suddenly noticed that the Queen is not Tegan, but a straw dummy that's been put in her place by Woolsey. Ha! Hutchinson becomes angry and then orders men to kill Woolsey and the others. Will appears in the nick of time and uses a flame torch to cause a distraction, which allows the Doctor, Hampton, Woolsey, and Tegan to escape and get back to the TARDIS. The Doctor locks the signal conversation unit on the frequency of the psychic energy feeding the Malice, hoping to be able to direct it. Willow and a trooper try in vain to break their way into the TARDIS, and Turlough and Verney knock them unconscious with lumps of masonry. The Doctor succeeds in blocking the energy, and the projection of the Malice in the TARDIS dies. The real Malice, in an act of desperation, attempts to drain as much psychic energy from the villagers as possible. He creates a corporeal projection of 3 Roundheads to try to kill the Doctor: Woolsey, Tegan, Turlough, Hampton, Verney, and Will. However, the dazed and confused trooper stumbles from the TARDIS and into the main church area, becomes surrounded by the Roundheads, and they decapitate him, then vanish. Yikes. Hutchinson arrives and holds them all at gunpoint. When the Doctor tries to talk Hutchinson out of the thrall of the Malice, Willow attacks the group. In the scuffle, Will pushes Hutchinson into the mouth of the Malice, destroying the Malice's medium. Realizing it has failed, the Malice prepares to destroy itself and everything around it. Subsequently, the church begins to collapse, and the Doctor leads the others, including Willow, into the safety of the TARDIS. Inside the TARDIS, the Doctor's companions are surprised to see Will still among them. The Doctor explains that he must have been wrong in his assumption that Will was a psychic projection. He then says that the Malice must have created a temporal rift, which allowed Will to slip into the future. The Doctor then says that he will take Will back to 1643. Tegan objects and asks the Doctor to allow her some time to visit her grandfather. The Doctor is initially disgruntled, but is persuaded to stay in Little Holcombe for a while for a rest. Yeah, I think the rest would probably be a good idea. So anyway, let's look at some production notes about this story. The 2 episodes were combined to a single omnibus edition broadcast on July 20th, 1984, reaching 4.4 million viewers. The working titles of the story were War Game and Poltergeist. Kringle had submitted this story in the mid-1970s to then script editor Robert Holmes as a 4-part story entitled War Game. In the 1980s, he resubmitted his story, and as well as a different 4-parter, The Darkness, possibly featuring the Daleks, to script editor Eric Saybert. Realizing the story did not have enough impact for 4 episodes, it was later parted down to 2, renamed Poltergeist, and then finally, The Awakening. John Nathan Turner liked the character Will Chandler a great deal and seriously considered keeping him on as a companion. However, it was eventually concluded that Chandler's childlike nature would quickly wear thin and lacked any clear path of development, so Nathan Turner dropped the idea. The story featured extensive location shooting and studio work. 2 villages are used to portray Little Holcombe: Shapwick in Dorset and Martin in Hampshire. Sayward wanted to add a TARDIS sequence with Tegan and Chameleon, utilizing the robot prop and played in chameleonic form by Peter Davison and Mark Strickson. However, the scene was cut for the transmitted episode for timing reasons. The recovery of an early edit of episode 1 in the personal archive of late producer John Nathan Turner means that this element, previously though lost, was included on the DVD release of the serial. A small part of the scene has appeared on the documentary Chameleon, Metal Man, which featured on the DVD release of The King's Demons. The master tape for Part 1 was found to have some scratch damage when the 1984 compilation version was being mastered. No protection copy was made at that time, so the original TX master continued to deteriorate. The tape was checked in the early 1990s, and the scratch damage found to be far more intrusive than it had been in 1984. Fortunately, the original film sequences were kept, and using these, the compilation copy and the reprise from Part 2, in 1997 the Doctor Who restoration team were able to make a repaired master copy. This was used for the VHS release. This was sufficient. The final story of the series to consist of 2 25-minute episodes. All 2-parters since then have been 45 minutes long per episode, including most of Season 22 and several stories of the revived series. The Ultimate Foe, the concluded segment of The Trial of a Time Lord, was numbered on screen as parts 13 and 14 of the latter title. Furthermore, they share the same BBC production code, 7C, with the preceding 4-part story arc, The Terror of the Vervoids, even though they have their own separate novelization and feature compilation. The production designer for the story, Barry Newbury, had worked on Doctor Who intermittently ever since its very first story. After completing Awakening, Newbury took early retirement from the BBC, making the story his last professional effort. That's kind of interesting. So honestly, this is a pretty good episode, and yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about it. So overall, I give The Awakening 3 sonic screwdrivers out of 5. Well, join me next week as the Fifth Doctor story as the Fifth Doctor episode reviews continue on with Frontios. So until then, this is Whovian Queen saying, "Oh my Gideon! When I say run, run!" A versatility neutron flow. Would you like a jelly baby? Fantastic! Allons-y! Geronimo! Bow ties are cool, vests are cool, and Stetsons are cool.